All right, welcome everybody to the Raymond Conservation Commission meeting, November 25th, 2014. We'll have a brief meeting, which is good for all this holiday time. Everybody can go home and finish getting ready for the big storm coming, first of many. First up, just a quick progress report on the Raymond Community Forest project up on Pismire Mountain, and we earlier tonight had a brief meeting of the trail group and fundraising group, and we've sent letters out to abutters of the mountain property and the Coneska Road property. Initial fundraising letters. Our plan is to follow up with a wider town mailing in mid-late winter or early spring, and kind of reach out to the folks on Crescent Lake on a broader geography, and Panther Pond as well, and probably include in that a final mailing out to the greater town of Raymond. But we did want to start with the abutters and folks that would have a direct interest in the property from a proximity standpoint. We currently, latest update on the numbers for that. Well, before I jump into numbers, I will say we've made a couple of trips up the mountain to flag out just kind of reconnaissance marking of possible trails. There's some skid trails that are going to make for good, use them for our hiking and skiing and snowshoeing and trails. And we have other folks that live nearby that have been doing some more trail marking or preliminary trail scouting on the property. We have a Cracker Jack fundraising team, mostly from Crescent Woods Road area, and others from Loon Echo. And with respect to the numbers, we started out our campaign needing to close the gap between state money we got and some money from Hancock and our contribution from the town of Raymond, $50,000, and some other grants that Loon Echo had secured. We started out with a $150,000 fundraising goal requirement. We've raised about 25 in the couple months we've been underway, and hope to have a good boost before the end of 2014, tax deductible contributions, and then we'll start with the broader appeal in the winter. There'll probably be some other events as well, maybe some water related and perhaps some music and other fundraising events to help close the gap. So it's a great view from up on top, and it's shaping up to be a great project. We have quite a lot of enthusiasm on the couple committees that are engaged. So
what are those committees?
There's fundraising, there's trails, and there's going to also be a committee to formalize a management plan, which will be simple, not a big document, but a simple plan that says, here's where trails could be, here are the hours, here are the safety rules, and included in that will be a forest management plan that would, or at least an outline of one that would specify how frequently we could hope to do some selective cutting and generate some revenue. So those are the three main groups. Do feel free, anyone who's interested, to contact us through the town office is probably the best thing to do. Loon Echo Land Trust has a piece of their website dedicated to the Raymond Community Forest, so you can ping that, and folks that are interested can ping that and see maps and information sheets, and shoot them a note as well if you have some interest.
What are the thoughts on usage, John? Ski-mobile, hiking, skiing, hunting, four-wheeling? Is there anything that we're...
Just targeting to exclude. I think right now all of those are in largely because they are the existing kind of traditional use that's going on there, and we're not looking to put in a big change order.
Yeah.
I think that as usual, probably the one somewhat controversial, or at least access that will need some more discussion and resolution will be the extent of four-wheeler terrain, and I think that the mountainside is probably accessed more currently because there's some connections over to Black Cat and
yes.
And so
ski-mobiles too, I imagine, go that way.
Yep.
As well, right?
Right now on the Coneska Lowlands, I'll call it, which is a bigger parcel. It's half again as big. There's the network of trails. There is the skid trails, which in the summer or 3 seasons is kind of heavy going with what are coming up with raspberries now, and we'll be needing to do some bush hogging in there eventually. But in snowpack conditions, it's great skiing, snowshoeing on those trails, and I think with the proximity to residences there along the lake, there'll probably be less inclination to have as many motorized uses back there. That probably will lean more towards pedestrian, hike, ski, snowshoe, mountain biking. But I think the target is to try to line it up as best we can with the known existing use, and the wheelers I think probably do access the mountain for the view.
Does any of the lower land abut the water, the lake itself?
No water frontage. There is no water frontage. It's it's 250 acres, 225 acres, just right next door to it. And
is there any way to
connect? Hasn't been.
So it's all private landowners.
It's private landowners along the Crescent Lake shore there, and that would probably be a game changer to if there was some kind of access there, and it was somehow tried to be connected to the conservation project. To the maybe that'll come to fruition later, because it would make for quite a recreation, destination. If you we probably wouldn't go to the scale of a launch, of a ramp, but if you had a hand carry, if you had a canoe, kayak place to park, you could plunk in and go for a paddle or go for a hike. That would be a game changer in terms of.
I wasn't really trying to go one way or another. I just kind of wanted to see what we have, because I can see arguments on both sides as to why it would be good and bad. So without going into that right now, it seems like a topic for another time. So
right now there's no frontage. There's no land in the land that we've got an option on that connects to the lake. So that is largely the Raymond Community Forest update. I think the only other 2 items I've got here for tonight are a quick follow-up, Bill, just to refresh on what you found for the kiosk that we talked about last spring. It sounds like you've gotten some numbers for a kiosk that we could put up at Morgan Meadow. At the entrance, the Raymond entrance. So give us a quick overview of how you came out with that, just to remind us.
Well, I have a gentleman. It's a loose term, I suppose. I know a handyman type person that lives locally, is always looking for odds and ends work, and he can put together a nice kiosk for us, very reasonably priced. I have a rough estimate with asphalt shingles, and when we spoke last, you had indicated that maybe we should go with shake shingles.
Okay, right,
Which
remember
would
that?
probably be less expensive. It's roughly 700 for the material and labor, and then to build it, and then $100 to install it. And the window is closing quickly, but I still think the ground is soft enough to where if the storm doesn't turn into one of those polar vortexes in the next few days, we probably still have a little time. He's been in touch with me lately. We haven't quite connected, but I could see where if he's got a couple of weekends, he could probably get this done. Long weekends, I would think.
Where were we thinking of putting it? Up by that rock with the plaque on it, or closer to the parking lot? Just outside
I
the
would-
rocks, or
I would think set back,
yeah, off to the side?
right, like maybe right behind those rocks.
Yeah,
That would add protection.
get out of the way cars and.
Right. I don't know what we want to do about a map yet. If we want to have some kind of glass or plexiglass and get paper underneath, or go with some sort of wood carving
Yeah, wood
Mhm.
burning or,
and use some simple
outline.
paints or outlines to show a stream or a certain color trail.
On the kiosk board.
Right.
Yeah.
And somehow
Probably trace paper, you could take a.
attach it up
trace
there.
paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a
Right on.
permanent fixture there.
But I think getting the
Plexiglass would be fine, would hopefully
kiosk up is number one, and
Number
then
one,
we can
yeah.
figure out what to do on it. Yeah.
you know, for now we could get some simple flyers up there, you know, a cork board or something, stapler.
Yeah.
Go with that until spring, and we'd have from now until spring to figure out what's next.
Yeah. How are have you been up there lately, but how are the trails?
I haven't been through.
I haven't been through since the spring.
Yeah,
Were there still the trees in the way and whatnot? Did those get cleared, or
They've never been cleared.
they've never been cleared?
You know, we would need to,
Some chainsaws up in there.
yeah, and I think get permission and or a blessing from IF&W to go in there with equipment. Because it's my understanding that they don't want any equipment in there other than that logging effort that was,
some years ago, right,
Couple
several
years
years
ago.
ago.
Do they mind if you clear the trail
I
system
think they'd
itself?
be fine
I
with,
think, yeah.
with kind of hand scale
Yeah.
clearing
Yeah.
of the, what we came to call the
Like a blue trail and
the trail that,
Yeah.
that you and Steve, you guys
Yeah, we walked.
flagged out. Yeah, and we went around that day with
yeah.
Yeah.
Louise.
Bill and Steve did the trail, right? And then we
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
up with the GPS.
Yep.
the only thing with that though is that that's the far end of the trail, so to even haul in small equipment, I mean
If you want to lug a chainsaw in, you'd want to,
you'd need a couple of them, and you'd probably
Yeah.
need some sort of skid, because that's a long hike with a chainsaw and a gas can in
Right.
your hand.
right,
Can you get in with a four-wheeler
You-
just
you
to
could,
yeah,
put it
yeah.
on and ride in that way?
yep.
The reason I ask is maybe you'll take a shot at it. Just
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought up the
Spiegel
least-
Trail, that's right, right? The
Spiegel Trail.
That's what we're talking about.
Letting the
Yeah.
IF&W know what we're doing. Like John said, I don't think they'd object, but I think they'd want to know what we're doing, because I guess there's a few locals that like to ride their dirt bikes through there, and they don't really want that. So
Yeah.
And so this would be the place to post also, you know, okay uses, you know, acceptable uses for
right.
for the meadow.
I think as far as IF&W goes, it's probably no motorized at all, right?
They're okay with snow machines, I think.
Right. I think that
but-
was it.
Yeah,
And that's
Yeah.
it. Okay.
but certainly the the Wheelers in the wet area of the meadow have
Yeah.
historically had some issues.
Yeah. I guess
Scott Libby is our guy at the IF&W in Gray.
Scott.
Scott Libby.
I think I have his email somewhere.
So, I mean, if you wanted to, that's probably the best thing, Bill, to make it move, because
I'll let him know where
if
we
you
are.
wanted to find him at Gray IF&W and just give him a holler that we were thinking about a kiosk and
Would be okay to clear the Spiegel Trail.
clear those are the two items, kiosk and clear Spiegel Trail.
So I recall there was one area of blowdown was pretty good. Those are pretty good sized trees up
Yeah.
on the way. And like you said, that's a hike in with chainsaws.
Yeah. And then what you do with, I guess you just
I think you just cut it in short
cut it
pieces.
and
Yeah,
leave
just
it.
leave it all there,
Cut it
yeah.
and leave it.
It may be that a trek that would be doable would be with snowshoes, if there's not a lot of snow, and
Yeah.
just dragging the
Right.
saw on a sled.
Right, on a toboggan or a sled.
Toboggan,
Yeah,
and
nice fishing, one of those,
Right.
yeah. That'd be kind of a fun thing. to
that'd be
do
a
in
fun
winter.
little outing. Town will probably get nervous with us running chainsaws in there and make us sign papers and stuff, and
Right, that's the next point I was gonna bring up, is
Yeah,
what about
liability.
liability?
Right.
All that stuff.
I'll try to check with Don Willard about whether we could do that. I mean, if it was just hand saws, I think it would probably be no big deal, but there's probably worthy of a chainsaw.
Take it
It would take you a
Yeah.
year to clear what's there with hand
Yeah.
saws.
Yeah,
Unless
just,
you
yeah.
had the two-man.
Yeah,
Big
the really sharp
Take it back
blades.
to the 1800s. I think I got one of those saws somewhere in the
Yeah.
shed.
Those are pretty fast. When you
Get it
yeah.
sharpened up.
If it's
Probably
sharp.
more dangerous than a chainsaw.
Exactly.
I'll
Throw
check
your
with,
back out.
yeah, there'll be all sorts of, I'll check with Don about,
Okay.
JB, I'll check with Don about saws.
We'll give it to the younger members to try it.
With the hand saw? Yeah, yeah.
Did your guy, Bill, have a picture at all of it?
I have pictures.
You sent me some probably, but that might be something that
I'll-
Scott.
I'll resend.
Yeah, so I wanna see that.
And the reason why for such the delay, he was gonna do this in late spring, early summer. And then I found him, actually it was a couple of people that were here at our meeting, I think. The Coopers, I think maybe. They have a camp, I forget which pond it's on, needed to upgrade their camp. Long story short, they hired Mike, and Mike was busy all year long. So.
Yeah. So there goes the kiosk.
And that led to, I think, other work.
Yeah,
So, good for Mike because he needed it, but
yeah.
we lost him.
Okay.
Now
Oh,
he's
yeah.
hungry again. We
All
didn't
right.
get the price down.
That's your negotiation skill.
I think of negotiation.
Well, let's,
Anyway, that's where that is. so.
yeah, if we could find pics to circulate, because Scott might want to see some pics.
Okay.
And that would be
It
great.
might be on here.
I'm going to say that WJF get pics of kiosks to Scott. And then I'm going to say JBR check with Don about saws and with Nancy about money from the Spiegel endowment, which is entirely what he left money for to do.
Okay.
Oh, really?
$25,000
That ought to cover it.
Yeah.
interest only
Yep.
for the first decade or two, I think was the word, can't remember what the wording is, but it couldn't get at the principal for a patch of time, but there's
So that
accrued
goes
interest.
towards the kiosk?
Yeah,
Good.
all right, that's good there. We'll keep rolling, and I think the only really other one I just wanted to keep alive was a note from Alyssa, our retired conservation member, and
Emerald Ash Borer.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of emails about that.
this was one on the 14th of October, and it came in from New Hampshire, and the Emerald Ash Borer is on the move in New
It is,
Hampshire,
isn't it?
and
Expanded the,
they've added 2 more counties to their Emerald Ash Borer quarantine.
yeah.
Rockingham County addition brings a quarantine immediately adjacent to our main border. They put traps out in Maine to try to trap the emerald ash borer with no positive hits. And the take home here was that emerald ash borers infested trees are targets for woodpecker activity. So we certainly have plenty of pileateds around Raymond.
Yeah, a lot of them, right?
Got some in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
And some of the little guys, the hairy and the downy woodpecker.
What are the what's the?
Pileated is the largest.
Yeah,
It's a
they're-
black one with a red crown.
The red
Yeah,
cap on, that
I have
beautiful
a huge
bird.
one that,
He's working your land.
yeah, comes right out in the backyard.
All right, so that, if you
Noisy
got
too.
a lot of activities, the woodpeckers go after larvae beneath the outer bark of infested ash trees, leaving bright patches on the trunks and branches. And they call that blonding, where the woodpecker's been working at it. So, a potential indicator that emerald ash borers are there. Obviously, the woodpeckers are going after other critters as well. But whenever emerald ash borer is found in a county, federal law requires the entire county to be quarantined.
Wow.
So quarantine means firewood can't move out of that. It has to just sold within that area, and other wood products can't leave that area.
Right. I think.
That's significant for the
I mean, as it remained, has
products business.
a no firewood transport into the state rule law, anyways, right now. Right?
Yeah.
But the quarantine. I'm looking for detail on that.
They found any natural predator
Predator for it.
at this point? I thought I heard something about a type of wasp that was going after it.
Do emerald ash borers bore into other kinds of trees, or are they strictly state of the ash, and that's how it gets its name?
I think it's pretty much limited to the ash trees at
Okay.
this stage. So it's on our doorstep, if you will.
If it's next to York County.
In New Hampshire?
Yeah,
Next to-
Rockingham County is right against York County.
So that's the
Salem.
Berwicks,
Yeah.
Sanford?
Yeah.
So they talk about if you there is an approved insecticide, and there are management plans for emerald ash borers. So there are tools, but it obviously would take time, money,
Yeah.
And staying on it to contain it.
Where could we get more details on the quarantine
Rules.
policy and
Okay.
rules?
Well, this one that Alyssa sent is EA. Okay, there's a quarantine website right there. That's not going to work because I'm not online right here right now. But I'll send this
Okay.
around to everybody. And if folks out there think they're seeing an unusual amount of woodpecker activity and have some concern about emerald ash borers, particularly, woodpecker activity around ash trees, there's info here through the Conservation Commission that we can hook you up with. So that is about it at 7:45 for all I have. Any other items?
Well, going back to this and the wood transport law of the state, I won't say I come in and out of the state a lot down at Portsmouth, but enough to know that I know the state has a sign about wood transport.
Yep.
but I think they
on,
could.
on 95.
Yeah, but I think they could do a better job making it more obvious, make it more demonstrative.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of signs, and most people that come and go on a regular basis, they don't bother reading them anyway. So.
right. I mean, you've got milfoil signs down there, you've got
But if it's
firewood,
right.
you've got,
But if it's getting serious, then well, that would be a help to have a better display of information and to let those coming in with firewood know that we take this seriously.
yep,
Yep.
Yep.
I think the rest areas would be a good one too, people, I haven't seen anything in the rest areas, that
That's
would
good.
indicate,
That visitor center, as
Yeah.
you come right in.
people are slowing down a little bit more there, might be more prone to be reading things and whatnot.
inside the centers.
Yeah.
Here's a website, www.nhbugs.org.
nhbugs.org.
All right, well, I'm thinking that we won't have a meeting in December. What is that last Tuesday of December? That's gonna be right in the middle of,
Like 29th.
okay, what's your calendar say
It's,
there?
Christmas Thursday, right?
I think you're right. I think it's the 29th.
So, yeah,
30th?
Thursday's 25, 6,
30th?
says 8, 9, 30th.
That's Tuesday.
December 30th is
Yeah.
is the last Tuesday in December.
I can't see how that's gonna be popular or important, so we may be off till Jan.
Okay.
What's the last January? Tuesday.
January last Tuesday, 27.
Jan 27, think of it. Let's shoot for that for the next meeting, and we'll try to get some info. I mean, realistically, on the kiosk, if we're doing good, we'll find some money, find about the rules, and maybe get a recon in through there this winter on snowshoes or something. But get Scott lined up and do it in the spring is probably the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
I would say that'd be good.
Snowshoe in there would be kind of fun.
Yeah, we should.
Check out the trails and
Yeah,
bring some
go
sauce.
see the big wig. Go see the big cliff
Yeah,
up there.
big wig.
We've had 2 good trips in over the
Yeah.
past couple of years. All right, well, that's it for now. Keep an eye out and an ear out for things about the Raymond Community Forest. Plenty of opportunities to help out, and contact the town office if you have items of conservation interest, and we'll do our best to get it out in the air.
If people want to donate, where do they send it to? Is there an address on the website?
There certainly is, and thanks for bringing up that salient point, Jim. Luneco Land Trust, www.lelt.org, has donation information, and that's where all tax-deductible donations could go to, directed to. Yep. So that would be, that's the best place to check in to learn more about it and get the latest and to make a contribution if you're so inclined.